Where are you from?
I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, born and raised.
Does your family still live here?
They do. Same family, same place for the last, I don't know. They moved to Lexington in the 90s. I was just born here.
Was this like a good place to grow up?
It was a great place to grow up. Had all the advantages of a city. It had all the advantages of small town. Everyone seemed to know everyone else or knew someone who knew someone else that you also knew. Um, but there was also still plenty of things to do. It was safe, it was comfortable. I've never felt in danger here, and I've met a lot of great people here.
What was your neighborhood like where you grew up?
Well, I lived in a smaller home until I was 10, then I moved over to where I live now. Growing up there, I had some good friends that lived in the neighborhood, and I was always comfortable walking around in it. Um, it was a lot of fun. I had a nice little community around me. When we moved over here to our new house, it was still a really nice neighborhood. Um, Growing up, though, after I turned about 10 years old, didn't feel that same sense of community as much. Didn't really feel close to my neighbors or anything. I didn't know many of my neighbors or anything like that, versus the old place where I knew all my neighbors really well. I would go over there and just talk to them every once in a while, even when I was like 7 years old. So, it changed as I grew up, but
Have you like lived anywhere else? Like you said that you like moved houses, but
yeah, I mean, my parents, when I was born, they lived in a one floor house off Liberty Road, and it was really nice. I had plenty of space, and it was a really nice place. And then my dad got a raise and promotion in his jobs, or got a new job, one of the two, where he was making enough money where we could afford to get a bigger house. And it was just three of us. I'm an only child, so it was just me, my mom, and my dad. But it was due time for an upgrade. So now we have a massive house that most of the space is barely touched. So
what kind of things did your family do together like when you were growing up?
well, family's a little bit different. My mom has epilepsy, so she has a lot of medicine, and a lot of medicine makes her really sleepy. And growing up, especially when I was really young, my mom didn't really do stuff with my dad and I. But my dad, he and I, we would go on adventures all the time. We would go on a random day, we'd go to Red River Gorge or Evans Orchard, or we'd go just on an adventure, find something to do, and then we just do it, which was great. We'd go on a lot of trips together, though. My mom was always a part of those. We'd go to visit new cities like Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, um, and every year we take a beach trip to Pensacola Beach, Florida, as with the extended family, and that was always really nice. Um, but I wouldn't say that I did a ton with my family growing up, other than just like little adventures and things like that, trips. Um, yeah, can't really think of too much that we always did.
Well, are any of them like traditions that your family has?
Well, the beach trip is a tradition for sure. Every year since I was born, or for as long as I can remember at least, we'd always go to Pensacola Beach, Florida. There was a couple of years where we tried to go to 30A and Orange Beach in Alabama. We did that for 2 years. Never, after that, we were straight back to Pensacola Beach, Florida. We've stayed there every year as long as I can remember. Loved it every year. Stayed in different places. Sometimes we get a house. Sometimes we'd stay at a resort there. And it was about 18 of us. It was always a lot of fun. It was the only time I felt like I really got to like see all of my family together, and it was always like what I was most excited for over the summer.
Does your family have like any other traditions besides the beach?
We have smaller traditions. Every Thanksgiving, we will watch Forrest Gump. That is our Thanksgiving tradition. Every Christmas, we'll watch It's a Wonderful Life. On Christmas Eve, we always go eat at Waffle House, which feels like a very southern thing, but I love it. Um, yeah, uh, go to church on Christmas Eve, go to church on Easter. Just feel like common traditions. I'd say that the movie watching is probably where most of our big traditions lie. I would also say more recently, for the past 10 years or so, every time we're driving to the beach, we always listen to Hamilton um, all the way through. And it just became a tradition.
Who did you play with when you were growing up, or like who were your like childhood friends and stuff like that?
Depends on the age. When I was really young, when I was about like 3 or 4 years old, my parents, they're best friends. They had a son around my age, Bo, and we would always hang out together. But I don't really remember that time too well. After that, when my mom was working, one of her close friends that she worked with, we would always go and do stuff with their family. And I had that friend, Andrew. As I got older, I had a friend named Eli from third to fifth grade, and him and I were always really close. We lived in the same neighborhood actually, so which was really great. But then he moved schools when we went to middle school. When he moved to some county outside of Lexington's, or got homeschooled, I mean, and then moved. So I didn't really see him as much. Then once I hit middle school, I had my best friend Roman. We've been best friends ever since. But really, the most consistent childhood friend of mine was my cousin Pierce. My grandma, my nana, when I was growing up, she would always pick us up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Me, Pierce, and then his sister, my other cousin Lucy. And we'd always go to Nana's house and we'd get Sonic and stuff like that, and we'd just hang out. And Pierce and I would play all the time. And even when Nana didn't pick us up, we'd have sleepovers and we'd FaceTime and play Minecraft all night long, which was always really fun. Um, and over the summer, we'd go to Nana's pool and stuff like that. So I'd say Pierce was probably the most consistent childhood friend of mine. Um, Even though he was my cousin, I think it still counts.
Did you ever like get in trouble?
I never got in trouble. Pierce would get in trouble all the time because he was very unique, and he would just decide he wanted to do something and he'd just do it. He would just walk away. And sometimes I'd walk with him and then I'd get in trouble because of Pierce, but I don't think that's me. Other times I would just tell my mom or my nana, whoever was around, so that he didn't get hurt. Not trying to be a snitch. I just want to make sure he was safe. And it always scared me. So I didn't get in trouble. I was always a good kid. I, in fact, hated getting in trouble with a passion. It was the worst. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. What would you like do if you did do something like bad and you don't want to get in trouble?
Well, one time I broke one of the bedposts on my parents' bed. I was just playing around on it. I felt so bad. I put it back up where it was, pretending like I didn't do anything. And then I put myself in timeout. And then I told my parents, my dad, I yelled for him to start a timer for 7 minutes because it was 1 minute per year, however old I was. And he was like, okay, why? And I ended up telling him, and then he did just put me in timeout. So I guess kind of worked, but I always felt so bad when I got in trouble, or I'd just have a meltdown if I got in trouble at school or something.
Speaking of school, what high school did you go to?
Frederick Douglass High School.
And like, what differences among like high schools are in your area? Like, what are like the rivalries and stuff like that you experienced?
Every other high school sucks. No. In all seriousness, they are. It depends on school. Frederick Douglass is the newest high school around this area. There was different rivalries. I'd say Frederick Douglass's biggest rival was Henry Clay. That seemed like the one close. That was the closest high school to us. So a lot of our a lot of our friends, a lot of people we went to elementary school with also went there. Same people we went to middle school with also went there. So it felt like a very natural rivalry. The private schools too. We always had rivalries with them. There was Lexington Catholic and LCA and Sayre. And Sayre and Lexington Catholic were always the most annoying for us. So I don't know. It was just depending on the area of Lexington you were in, really.
Is there like a school that like you would see and you'd be like, wow, that's different than us?
I mean, not particularly because I went to public school. Maybe Lexington Catholic or Sayre felt very different than what I grew up with. Um, One of my friends, he ended up going there for a year, and he told me about how different it was. Um, Seemed a lot more strict and a lot more rigorous, but also just as bad when you think about like the negatives of public school. They were doing things that were probably even worse than my public school. So some of it was different. It's pretty much all the same though. It's all the same age. High school kids are the same no matter where you go. So
Were there like main groups of friends in your high school?
like cliques?
Like cliques, yeah.
Absolutely. There's always popular kids. There's the theater kids. There's the nerdier kids. But I did find personally that there was not nearly as much of the cliche cliques as I would have thought.
What do you mean?
It didn't seem like jocks picked on the nerds or anything, or the geeks, or the popular kids weren't like super harsh or mean to a bunch of other people. It just seemed like everyone just kind of had their own circles and their own people, and they just hung out with them. Um, if bullying happened, it seemed more personal than clique wide.
What group are you in?
I kind of had my foot in all of them. I felt like I had plenty of friends that were nerds. I had plenty of friends that were very popular. I had plenty of friends that were football players, jocks, baseball players, all that. I just kind of had my people, and they were all kind of in different areas, and I just kind of hung out with whoever I was around. I never felt like I was necessarily in a certain circle or clique.
Would you call yourself popular if you had your foot in every group?
No, because I was only known through association. I mean, I grew up with a lot of all these people that were in all these cliques were the same people I've known since I was in kindergarten. So there was always a bit of a mutual respect and acknowledgement of each other. And I was never a jerk to any of them, and they were never jerks to me. So it never felt like I was like uncomfortable hanging out with them. It's just some people that I hung out with more than the others. But I wouldn't call myself popular. I felt like I was known. I don't feel like I was popular. I wasn't invited to a lot of their like out of school activities, parties, stuff like that. I could usually go to parties, but I would just have to like get go through a friend that was more closer to them. So no, I wouldn't say I was popular. I'd say I just knew people. I was popular by association.
And what kind of hangouts did you do with your friends?
A lot of drives. Just love. Me and my friends loved to just drive around, go on adventures to random places. Um, Go to Canes when I played lacrosse. Those friends, we'd go to Canes a lot after practice or a game or something. Um, Mainly just hang out in one of our houses or something. Otherwise, didn't seem like we'd go out and do a bunch of things personally that I can remember. So
Would you like, if you had like one activity in mind, like a drive, for example, would you like have a certain friend in mind, or would it just be like whoever?
I would say I had Roman was always the main person I wanted to do a lot of this stuff with. Because he was the closest thing I had to a brother, so he was always the number one person. I was like, oh, let's do this, and he'd always be up for it. So I'd say Roman was definitely like the guy that I would always be like, oh, you want to do it? Let's go do this. It'll be fun. And he was always up for it. So
Um, was it was it easy to like find a girlfriend where you lived and like when you were in high school and everything like that, or like was it hard?
um
I'm speaking like generally too. Like it doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, a lot of the people that we were all around were the same people we grew up with since kindergarten or middle school, or we knew through them because of mutual friends, and we just kind of all were aware of each other and knew each other for a long time. I would say for me, no. Um, but I think that was more my personal social skills versus accessibility. Um, I think a lot of it, though, a part of it felt like it was uncomfortable because you knew these people for so long. You would rather go to like a different school and date someone there um, versus your own school. And if you did date someone within your own school, when when it ended, and it always ended, it seemed like it was very contentious for a while after that, from what I saw and observed. Um, so it seemed like, I don't know, I guess it was kind of a mixed bag. Some people date each other, other people went to different schools. Um, Maybe dated someone a year older or a year younger than them. It kind of depended.
Did your parents ever give you rules for dating in high school or earlier?
No. Well, they preferred that she was a Christian, like me. That was one thing that very, they told me was very important. Um, They're making our lives a whole lot easier. They, but they didn't necessarily have strict rules. I didn't have like a curfew or anything. I mean, didn't really go anywhere a lot of the time, so it was hard to give me a curfew necessarily. And they usually just want to meet them, but otherwise they were very chill about it, very calm about it. They didn't really have like strict expectations or demands about my dating life. They just kind of let me do whatever, and then give me advice about it. Otherwise,
They ever give you like a talk about dating or anything like that?
I mean, we've had a lot of talks about dating. Um, Despite my social awkwardness and growing up, I was very interested in dating from a young age. I really wanted to date someone, um, marry someone, have kids with someone. It was a big goal of mine was like 8 years old. So I talked about dating a lot, talked about different girls a lot, and they gave me a lot of advice and sound wisdom. We never had like, so I'd say we had a bunch of big talks about it, but none that stand out to me.
They all just kind of mesh together.
Yeah, we just have deep talks. It's the three of us. We have a lot of deep talks.
What kind of stuff was there to do like for fun in your hometown?
Well, there's a lot of arcades and like Malibu Jacks, Lex Live, Main Event, but Main Event, Lex Live really weren't around until late high school, early college. Main Event or Malibu Jacks was around for a while. There was Champs, which was like roller rink, arcades, stuff like that. There was a go karting place that had like serious go karts. That was fun. I did that for my 13th birthday. There was a lot of really beautiful parks around. There's a lot of hiking around here. If you go a little far ways, some nice pools, nice public pools at least. One used to have a high dive. Doesn't have a high dive anymore. It's kind of sad. But I don't know. There were like a bunch of fun things to do, but it kind of depended, you know. I'd say that a lot of my childhood growing up and doing things was very virtually based. Say a lot of the dating life as well, going back to the last question, was very virtually based, um, which is sucks. I think that everything would have been a lot easier if it was more in person. We found actual real things to do versus just like talking on the phone or playing video games together and stuff like that.
When you mean by like virtually things to do, are you talking about video games and
Yes.
that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever like do things in person, like at the park or anything like that?
Yeah.
Or is that more scarce?
What?
Or was that like more scarce?
I mean, it depended. I think we did plenty of stuff in person. We went to play a lot of lacrosse in middle and high school, but that was because we were on lacrosse teams, so it's kind of part of our whole niche. We go to arcades every once in a while, but not very often. We go on a lot of drives, as I've mentioned a few times now, a lot of adventures. That was always fun. Or we just hang out at one of our houses and chill there. But I don't know, it just kind of depended on the day, what was going on, what else we had going on. I'd say it was probably more scarce though than I would have liked it to be. I think that things would have been a lot better, a lot easier had we had less of a virtual social life. Because while playing video games with your friends is fun, you know, texting can be fun, sending memes to each other is fun. It doesn't build memories as much as real things do. So I think that would have been ideal in retrospect.
Do you think any of that like changed when COVID happened and it became more virtually based than beforehand?
I think everything went downhill when COVID happened. I mean, social interaction became essentially illegal for a year. So all we have is virtual. I think a lot of people got comfortable with it and things kind of went downhill after that. I think that it's really hard to get people to go out and do things now, including myself. But I don't think that it was, I think that it was still a problem before COVID. Looking back, I mean, that was middle school and first half freshman year of high school. I can't really think too much that I did that was outside of hanging out at my house or my buddy's house or anything like that. spend the night watching movies, playing video games. But I definitely think that it got drastically worse after COVID happened. Um, and I hope that the future, that not Gen A, I think it's a little too late for them, but the generation after that learns how to live life physically and not socially. Hope that answers your question.